How we doing, guys? We had, I thought I was going to say we had about 7 inches of snow, but I'm going to say we had about 4 inches of snow last night. And I thought I'd do something different and just kind of walk you around the yard a little bit in the snow. And I think this might be more for my benefit than your benefit. I had a bit of a strange night last night. Got the block heater on the Dodge. So we got some really cool icicle action going on. And I had to open the hood to take the wire out for the block heater. And I found another mouse nest on top of the Dodge. The mice have been really bad. I made a video on Friday. It's now Sunday morning. I made a video on Friday about taking the mouse nest out of my heater blower motor, and they had as big a nest as I've ever seen right on top of my engine too. And the fact that we had the heater going all night, the block heater, I wouldn't be surprised if there's a bunch of mice having a nice nap right now on top of that. But right now I'm gonna say it's probably 10-15 degrees out, 4 inches of nice powdery dry snow. And I had a really weird night last night. The dog has been getting in the habit of waking me up around 4 o'clock every morning, usually between 4 and 6. He's usually pretty good about 6. And last night it was 4. So I'm sleeping and I hear this whimpering noise as I'm sleeping, and I wake up and my wife wakes up and I say to her, you know, I hear a dog crying, but I don't see a dog. Well, he was down at the end of the bed crying. So I brought the dog downstairs and let him out. And I don't remember if it was before or after, but we have a cat, an older cat, who's diabetic, and when she goes potty, she's on a special diet. When she goes potty, boy, it really stinks up the house. And because she's so old and diabetic, she refuses to leave the room. So we have the litter box in our main living area. So I don't remember if it was before or after the dog was out, but I had to clean the litter box because as soon as she goes, you clean it right away. Lit the candle. And then it was so cold downstairs that I figured I'd build a fire too. So by this time I had let the dog outside, walked downstairs, let the dog outside, cleaned the litter box, lit the candle, and then started a fire as well. So the dog had come back in and I was, you know, I was all prepared to get back to sleep, and up until this point, everything's okay. It's normal. It's a little bit off the beaten path, but it's normal. So I figure since I'm already downstairs, I just lay on the couch to fall asleep. And as soon as I turn the light off, within seconds, I hear like a water noise, a water rushing noise. And it's not the normal noise of when the cat's in the box. So apparently the cat was hungry, so she decided to pee on the carpet instead of peeing in her box. And I had literally just turned the light out. The fire was going. I was ready to just, 3 more minutes, I was back to sleep and everything was good. So I think the reason that the cat did that was because she's diabetic and there's something else going on. I should take her back to the vet and have her checked out, but she's constantly eats. I mean, years ago, the vet told us that we should feed the cat more often because she's a big bone kitty, and we should feed her smaller portions more often because that way she'll move around more. Like, that's how you get a cat to move, is you feed them small portions more often. So I think she was mad because she didn't get as much food as she wanted, so she peed on the carpet out of spite. So then I figure, well, then I felt like a bad person because I wasn't feeding my cat. So I decided to give her some food. And when I gave her some food, Theo, our Great Pyrenees mix, he's about 90 pounds, just the gentlest, most wonderful dog you'd ever meet. He waits for her to finish her food, but as soon as she starts walking away from the plate, she usually decides to, Theo usually decides to go ahead and finish whatever she left on her plate, because you don't want to waste cat food. That's just a shame. Well, I got it frustrated. I think I was frustrated already, and because I was already frustrated, when Theo went to eat her food, I yelled at him and I grabbed the scruff of his neck and said, leave it. That's the command for, you know, don't eat it. And when I did that, he whimpered, and so then I just felt really bad that I was, you know, such a bad person for, you know, this dog was just doing what he's been doing for years, well, at least 2 years now. And I didn't feel good about that, but I woke up this morning, and you know those mornings where people say that they really need some coffee? I'm just not really feeling the energy yet. And you know, maybe I will, but to keep that story going, so I grabbed Theo by the scruff of the neck and fed the cat, and you know, then I had to clean up the carpet a second time, and I think it was probably 6:30, and it was just like, you know, I was up late, but it just for whatever reason it just got to me. I was angry. I don't like to get angry, but I was angry, and now I think I'm a little bit tired this morning for being up, and a little bit tired because when you're angry it drains your energy. And honestly, you know, it's a beautiful snowy morning, but I'm not really looking forward to cleaning up the snow either. So if you guys weren't here with me, I would probably just be walking around the yard the way I usually re-energize, or just get control of myself, whatever the term would be, is to just kind of walk around. If there wasn't snow on the ground, I would have taken Theo for a walk around the block. But there's the Holzhausens with snow on them. The Holzhausen here, this one did fall apart too. You know, I thought I was getting so good at building them, I got a little bit cocky, and I built the walls of the Holzhausen more vertical than I usually do, and I thought I had the skills to do it. But what happens is that wood dries and it settles, those vertical walls end up being even more horizontal, or the horizontal walls end up being more. The logs in the walls are horizontal, but they somehow, as the Holzhausen dries, it settles and the wood moves, let's say that. So the secret I've learned, you know, I put a video of the failure of this one over here, which I've been going through quite handily. But this Holzhausen here, the secret I learned was don't get too overconfident in your abilities, and always keep a decent angle on the sides of those walls, so that when the pile settles, it can only go inside. It doesn't have the option of going out. But I still think it looks very pretty in the snow. There's still plenty of squirrels living in there. The red squirrels love the Holzhausens. I'm sure the mice do too, and I'm sure the chipmunks do too. But that's where we are with that. And then, is this the fox? I mean, that's pretty big. That's pretty big for a cat or a squirrel. I think this might be the fox making its rounds. I guess it could be a cat, but you see how quickly it's moving? You see how quickly those foxes, see how the snow is really, you know, pushed aside. I think this is the fox making its rounds. But here's where we are with the wood pile this year. I put a tarp before the snow started yesterday. So this whole pile of wood you're looking at here, which I'm gonna have to guess is maybe 3 cords. This is all hand split, and what I've been doing for years now is I hand split the wood, and then anything with knots in it, or you know, I call it the 3-hit rule. If I hit it 3 times and it doesn't start to show signs of splitting, I throw it aside. And then what I do is I've been bringing it over here. I've got some maple sitting here. This is all sugar maple. And it so happens that this is this one log is just at the right height where I'll put them up here and then I'll noodle them. I'll cut them with a chainsaw bar this way, all the knotty ones. And any new chainsaw users, I caution you about doing that. This video is for entertainment only. Read and understand the instruction manual before attempting. I caution you because, you know, it's not a secure way to do things. When I use the saw to cut pieces like this, I always make sure I have my dogs on the saw right up against the wood. If you come into the wood without those dogs there, it's just gonna throw that wood at you, and it's not a good thing. But it works very well for me, and you know, I need the exercise. I need to be outside during the winter to just for peace of mind. And the log splitter, it's almost too fast, you know, like you don't get the enjoyment, you don't get the same physical enjoyment out of it. You don't get to try to figure out how to split the wood in the best way. So it's, you know, I've decided this year I put my log splitter, I think I showed you the hoop house. I don't know if you saw it, the log splitter was in the hoop house. But for me, it's just, I'd rather split by hand than split with a machine. Now, I'm only splitting wood for my house, and then if I have a cord or two extra, I'll put an ad on my website and sell it. But to me, all this wood you're seeing here is, this is the equivalent of a gym membership, although it doesn't seem to have the same effects because I still seem to gain weight every winter, but it keeps me going. You know, it gives me a sense of purpose through the winter to get out and work on splitting my wood. So this pile here is all my dry wood that is pretty much ready to burn. And then this pile over here is stuff that's wetter. And so I'm doing this a little bit neater because this won't be burned till next year. And I didn't bother covering this one either because it's not going to burn till next year. And then here, that's probably some mice. Probably some mice we're seeing right there. Okay, and then here's our chipper with our chipper pile. I figured out a secret which makes the chipper much more productive, but in the interest of safety, I'm not going to share it with everybody. What I'm doing is very safe. It's just, I just don't want to put stuff on the internet that a new user is going to do, or someone, new user, or someone, I don't know, not as safety conscious. But I've got a very safe way of doing it where when I'm running the wood, the sawdust through the chipper, I do it one way, and then when I'm running the bark through the chipper, which you see there, I do it a different way. And it works out very well. And it's increased my productivity. It's made chipping stuff not as much of it's made chipping not as much of a pain in the butt or slow. I mean, I enjoy chipping. It's just if I've got, like, you know, 6 or 8 containers of stuff, it takes a while to get through. So I think I said, you know, I could use a larger chipper, but I've only got $300 tops into the chipper I've got, and it just seems silly. All my life up until 2008, 2009, when the economy tanked, I would go out and buy the newest, greatest toy, and I'm trying to get myself out of that habit. If I need something, get it, but I don't want to just run out and buy a new chipper because the one I've got works perfectly fine. I don't know. So this pile here, by the way, you know, I think I said it already. This is all chipped sawdust and bark, very finely chipped, and there's got to be a good 4 to 5 yard pile here, which we will definitely use around the house. I'll use this for stuff closer to the house. The fox did not come climb the pile. Usually they'll come and climb the pile. Looks like they were out last night when it was still snowing. These have filled in a bit. And then over here, you know, I haven't built this beautiful table for the sawmill last year. And there's a nice shot of our rail. Built a beautiful log table for the sawmill last year. Probably spent 3 or 4 days, longer than I think a sensible person would have done. I think, you know, most people would have just got the darn farmer's sawmill. But again, I think the farmer's is now like $14.99. I got this is the big mill basic, which I mounted to a piece of wood. I think most people would have just gone out and bought the farmer's M8, which is a smaller version, and just been done with it. But I wanted to experiment at homesteading. You know, I see so many channels about homesteading, and there seems to be 2 types of homesteading. There's homesteaders who move to a rural area of the country. They buy all the latest and greatest toys, or the ones on YouTube get all the latest and greatest toys sent to them, and they make review videos of the toys they're getting to make money. But it seems like a lot of the people I see on YouTube that are making these awesome homesteading videos are also retired from some career that pays a pension. And so a lot of the homesteading videos I see, they're fun, but I don't understand. To me, homesteading sounds like more you just move to the country and do what you enjoy doing, which is basically being outside. And that's what I've been trying to do around my own house, is I've recognized that, but I don't have the funds to move to a new place, and you know, my kids are young and in school, and that's a rough. I guess homesteading to me doesn't seem like a rough thing if you've got steady income to pay for all the repairs you need on your old farmhouse you build, and your quad you need, because you can't drive through the forest and cut down trees without a quad these days. You know, and if you want to buy a brand new tractor or something, and it seems like most homesteaders have ample firearms. That's another part of the culture. But the difference to me between homesteading, there's people I see making homesteading videos which seem to be living, they either work at a job that pays decently, or they're living off the pension from their previous career. They did something, they started in their 20s. They're now in their, let's see, 40s, mid 40s, early 50s, and they're getting a pension. But there's also the people I see that are what's called living off grid. And the ones I see living off grid, they don't have the pension. They're probably still working, and they're probably barely getting by, or they're just the type of people that don't like to waste money. But the off-grid people, man, that's a tough life, man. They're not taking anything for granted. They're not buying the latest toys. They're buying used stuff. And I just, you know, the homesteading videos are more fun because there's more toys. It's basically like, look, we're homesteading and we're buying all the toys with purpose, like chainsaw mills and chainsaws and the quad. Boy, I'd love to have a quad. And those off-grid people, man, they're living life on the edge. And I admit I watch more homesteading channels than I watch off-grid channels. But those off-grid people, they know how to make do, I guess would be, you know, if the world ever, you know, whatever happens, whatever big event's going to happen where the world is going to fall apart, those off-grid people are going to be fine. The homesteaders, I don't know, because once they run out of petrol or fuel for their quads, and you know, they don't have all the modern conveniences in their off-grid or their homestead houses, I think they're not going to do as well as the people who went off-grid from the start. But you know, I guess I should say to the off-grid people, much respect, because I don't think I could live that way. You know, I have a wood stove, but I have a heater, I have heat, you know, oil heat to back it up. And even the homesteaders, you know, I sometimes think that I want to move away from society, but other times I still know I like to, you know, I still like to bump into people once in a while. So I don't know, that was just a random tangent there, but this wheelbarrow is all stuff that's got to be noodled. And then looks like the fox was walking. This white oak is, this has been here for like 2 years. You know, I think I told you guys once, there's a guy I know I call the wood fairy. I never call him the wood fairy to his face because he could probably bench press my weight. You know, you'll never see an arborist who's not in incredible physical shape. So, you don't bust their stones. But my friend, the arborist, brought me wood, and he had a job, and he, you know, called me spontaneously like one Saturday afternoon and said, "John, I got a load of white oak. You got room for it?" And I was like, "Yeah, bring it over." And these logs are huge, and I honestly haven't gotten them because I haven't had a big enough saw, or maybe I just haven't had the enthusiasm to break into them. But now they got the 066, I got no excuses. And I really think I just need to kind of start picking away at one log at a time. But the other thing, you know, I've considered getting the Granberg mill to mill some of these logs, because I mean, this is white oak. These are going to be some incredible boards. Or using my my logosol big mill, like this guy right here. It's a double here, but if I cut back like 2 pieces of firewood, it's just going to be like a 6-foot long straight log. And I'd be curious if I could take the big mill and flip it back and forth one way or the other, and just you know, make some lumber out of it. I'd love to try to make some quarter saw, like use the big mill to make this into mandrel pieces, then get a machine to pick up those pieces and put them on my saw table. And once they're on the saw table, I could hopefully manhandle them to make quarter sawn, although I think you have to like rotate the log every turn with the quarter sawn, and I don't think I want to do that because that's going to be pretty, again, pretty labor intensive. There's one thing I just want to show you over here. So I put all this wood on last winter, and all these logs here are what I consider straighter wood that I figure if I'm going to mill, this is the stuff I'd use. And silly me, I thought at some point I would just come out here and mill lumber just for fun, you know, and I would just have tons of, most of this is red maple, unfortunately. I got, red maple's great wood, but, you know, I'd rather have like cherry or oak. But there's one piece of cherry there, but, you know, the way I set it up last year is I put this piece of wood, this log was supposed to be my kind of get things set up. I've only cut maybe 1 or 2 logs with the big mill permanently mounted, and then this is a nice straighter piece of maple, so my thought was this would be one that I would actually start making some boards out of, because I'd like to make like a pallet to hold my firewood. And then I got a couple pieces of cedar here, which I figured by the time I cut those 2, I'd be ready to get into some cedar and make some fencing, you know, make some boards for my fencing. But it's just sitting there, and I think I was considering doing that next week, but we'll see how the weather. It's supposed to be cold for 5 or 6 days and then get warm again. And then, you know, the state, I had a tree fall across the road, so the state came out, and these are 3 pieces of cedar. These are 3 cedar logs that I just asked them to drop them and leave them on my property and chip the brush, and they did an awesome job at that. They just dropped them for me. So these are 3 cedar logs, which I was thinking I could make some fencing. I figure what I'll end up doing is I'll use store-bought lumber, like store-bought cedar, to make the posts on my fencing, and then I'll just use the cedar to cut the slats. And I'd love to build a, you know, in the front of the yard there, I'd love to put a fence up. My neighbors put the plastic stuff up, but I'd love to put just a cedar fence, board on board. See right over here. If I, make these boards, I just put them right up there. But this would be what I do. I get a cedar. These are 5x5 cedar. 5x5 cedar. Put some 2x4s. I did cheat and use angle brackets on those, and I'd keep this going back too. And this is kind of my peaceful, quiet little place. But this pile of wood here, which I was pecking away at up until yesterday, I did a video with the dingo where I was moving some firewood, and I made it to the song of Long Cool Woman in a Black Dress. This is where I put the wood, and I was starting to kind of peck away at this pile. And some of this wood is rotted, some of this is just before it rots, so you really want to, there's some wood I've been bumping into that you really want to get it cut and burned this winter, because next winter it's going to start to be too far rotted. Excuse me, I just got a cough. I think I've been talking too much. I'm drying my throat out. But in this pile, if you take a look right over here, this log here, which is only 4 feet, so this is sugar maple, and I'd like to mill that. And then below it, this log right here is another sugar maple, which is probably about 8 or 9 feet. Because this is a tree that was growing on my yard, I don't know for how long. I never sat down and counted the rings. It always amazes me, people put, they count the rings on their trees, and I never had the patience to do that. But this is the butt end, and I'm gonna guess that this tree's got to be 50, 60 years old at least, if not more. So I'd like to mill these 2 pieces of maple and save the wood and do something that I can use in the house, because it's a tree. The sugar maples we have, unfortunately, they're getting older, and sugar maples are prone to breakage and rot. So I figure as the sugar maples go, if I can mill them, and I'd like to keep them on the property, use them for something around the property. But that's where we are, and all these pieces I would carry over to my chopping block. I don't think I showed you the chopping block, but and then I'd chop them, or if they were too big, I'd noodle them with the chainsaw. And the fox. So the feet, the marks on the fox prints are from here to there. So does that mean the fox was going that way, or does that mean the fox was going that way? I wonder. I'm thinking the fox would have been going that way, but what the heck do I know? So, all right, well, one of my neighbors started up their leaf blower, and I've been rambling on for a while. And hopefully this video came out okay. It's just ramblings. I watched a video yesterday about a guy who does chainsaws, and he does a lot of rambling, and I'll admit I copied his idea. I just rambled. But this is what I would be doing. This conversation we just had aloud is what I'd be doing in my mind to kind of get my inner peace or balance back. And now I can go and work on getting the bobcat ready to clean up the snow. So if you watch this entire video, God bless you, and you must be a very patient person. And if you didn't and you're skipping to the end, what can I say, guys? I just thought I'd try something different. Have yourselves a wonderful day, and we'll see you soon. Take care.